Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining, Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
In my day, we expected to get crushed by our geography department. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome to Non-Censored, the podcast that wraps up all the best bits from my very real daily radio show into one easy-to-digest highlights package. I'm joined, as ever, by my producer, Martin. And what a show we have for you this week, eh, Martin?
Oh, yes, indeed. We have clips from our interviews with Nadine Dorries, who finally resigned this week, and with our Royal Correspondent Nicola Witchell about King Prince Charles's attempts to rehabilitate his younger brother, and instead of Eshaan Akbar's hot and spicy takeaway of the week, we have my mild and creamy takeaway. No, Harriet, I don't like that name for the segment.
Too late, Martin. And as ever, there was so much we couldn't fit in. For example, we had Suella Braverman on for a 23-minute interview about police numbers.
Yes, although that ended up being only 3 minutes long in the end, so not really substantial enough to include here.
Now, this is the last episode before our live show on the 7th of September at King's Place in London. Tickets are available at kingsplace.co.uk, but two people who do not need to buy them are Jonathan Owen and Alex Maxwell, who sent in our favourite questions for our guests, Suella Braverman, Sir Keir Starmer and the Reverend Gerry Berry. So 2 tickets are on their way to you.
Oh, well, your names are on the guest list. Just tell them who you are and you know what, I'll just email them.
But the rest of you now need to buy your tickets at kingsplace.co.uk. And we'll see you on Wednesday the 7th at King's Place.
And if you have any questions, comments, compliments, or reviews, you can always contact us at noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com.
But let's move on to this week's show and the shocking news that Nadine Dorries has resigned.
She announced it months ago, Harriet, so it really wasn't that shocking.
Look, if Nadine's done something she promised to do, that counts as shocking in my book. Let's take a listen. For so long now, we've been going, is she leaving? Isn't she? And now you throw out there an incredible resignation letter. I think Rishi will be shaking in his boots, to be honest with you.
I agree. And do you know what, Harriet? Oh, it just poured out of me. When I actually wrote this, it just poured out of me. And I thought the best place for this is a national newspaper. And so that's why it was there. And I know that Rishi read it. He always looks up what I'm doing and he had a little look.
I think that's right. And also, you are a writer. Let's not forget, you're not just former culture secretary. You're not just a reality TV star. You are a writer. It runs through your veins. So your resignation letter was always going to be a cut above most people's, wasn't it? And it was. I mean, it was a real read, I feel. And I urge listeners, if you haven't read it, go and seek it out. It's a wonderful piece of writing.
Yes, first and foremost, I am a writer, and that's why my resignation letter was so beautiful and touched so many.
Nadine, hi, producer Martin here. I just wanted to ask, how do you feel your constituents have taken the news that you are, now leaving? After having previously said you were leaving, I'm sure there was a reaction, but now that you've actually left, have you had any fallout? Have you had any letters from them?
Actually, I mean, if I haven't read them because I've been really busy. And honestly, I've resigned now, so like, who cares? It doesn't really matter how they feel, does it?
Okay.
I've resigned now. Anyway, as I've said before, I did such a good job as an MP. They do, everything was fine there, so they didn't really need me. I've got all these wonderful staff who've been dealing with them. Don't ask me to name a single one of them. I won't. I literally can't.
Okay.
You've had some criticism thrown at you, Nadine, especially by your own government.
Hang on, what?
And you kind of hit back and you say, well, yes, you haven't been to a surgery in a long time, but you had some very competent staff who did that for you.
Well, as I have said in my beautiful letter, they're a zombie government. And if we were in The Walking Dead and, I don't know, Rick Grimes, a zombie, said to him, hey, look at the state of you, he wouldn't pay them any attention, would he? So I won't do that with these zombies in the governments that I am not a part of anymore. Wash my hands of them, I have.
Well,
now, sorry, Nadine. Nadine, just for our listeners who aren't familiar with The Walking Dead, who is this Rick Grimes?
Oh, he's brilliant. Do you remember him? He was on Teachers. He was in Love Actually. Should have married him, shouldn't she? The teenager, Keir
and Andrew Lincoln, I think.
Yes, and then he was fighting zombies. He had a son called Call. It's good.
Do you see yourself as the Rick in this scenario?
Yes, and that's why I've got out when the going's good.
Well, Nadine, you do call them a zombie government, which I'm sure anyone in government will be very unhappy about hearing. Of course, it does naturally present the question, are you attempting to destroy the zombie government, or are you going to try and keep them on a chain in a shed in the back garden like Simon Pegg does?
Well, what a question. What a question to me, an authoress and a one-time MP and future Lord. Of course I'm not trying to destroy them. I think it's pretty bloody obvious to everyone involved that they're doing that very well to themselves. Congratulations.
Right.
It
so only a matter of time until, a vinyl is thrown at their head and their brain is destroyed, it sounds.
Straight into the eye. Haha.
Nadine, let's talk about some of the criticisms you label at the government, because in your letter, one of the more damning things I think you say is that Rishi does not have the X factor that Boris had or Thatcher had.
Yes, he doesn't even have the X factor that Steve Brookstein had, and that's a damning comment if ever I heard one or made one, and I just did.
Yes, because where is Steve now? Sending angry tweets. And who'd want to be that person?
And we can all do that, and sometimes it's very good.
But you basically put Rishi in the same bracket as Keir Starmer in terms of these sort of rather ho-hum, non-X factor politicians.
It was good, wasn't it, when I did that? Just two boring old men.
Yeah, I thought that was very good.
Now I've said it in a letter, so it's true.
Of course, Nadine, there is another MP that does have a kind of X factor. He went on I'm a Celebrity, quite famous. Matt Hancock, do you think we could see a resurgence in his position, considering he has got some form of X factor going on himself?
As someone who has sold a lot of books, I don't think that we can expect to see a comeback from someone who only sold 3,000 copies of his book. And I happen to know that most of those were to his new lady. She only got with him because she thought, oh, here comes another person like Nadine who's going to sell loads of books. And he didn't. And now she's stuck with him. Enjoy that.
You might even say, in your wake, you've left a load of zombies, a load of zombie Nadines who aren't up to the task of being Nadine Dorries because there's only one.
Yeah, but I'm the most popular one. I'm the Daryl, aren't I?
The Daryl?
Yeah, from The Walking Dead, Daryl. He's the most popular one.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Okay. Again, yes. Again, with the Walking Dead references.
Yes.
He's got a crossbow.
I was Secretary of Culture, and Walking Dead is culture, so I used to always catch it.
Yes.
It's really good. It's good to keep up with what the people want to know, and I guess that is The Walking Dead and its spin-offs.
People love talking about it, just not in Parliament. If only, and I said this at the time, if only Neil Parish hadn't been looking at sexy tractors and instead had been looking at zombies that deserve to be taken down by Dara Rick and all his friends, then he would have got in so much trouble. And then he would be a big success like me, Nadine Dorries, the People's Lord.
Yes.
It's about your priorities, isn't it? And obviously priorities needs to be watching zombie programmes so that you can then make clever analogies about the government being a zombie government.
Thank you, exactly. That's what I was trying to say in my letter.
Yeah, otherwise it could have been a very, very different resignation letter and not as effective as it is. Mm-hmm. As I think Dan Wootton said, and, Dan Wootton, very sensible man and greatly wronged recently. As Dan Wootton said, it was a real blow to the government.
And he'd know all about that.
And was that from his own personal account, or was that from another account that he was operating that he sent that message?
It
Martin,
doesn't matter.
I know what you're doing here. And yes, stop trying to besmirch Dan. He's been through enough. He has been through enough.
Least of all want to besmirch Dan Wootton because, legally, I don't know how I'd protect myself. Nadine, I was just wanted to follow up on this idea that we are losing the X factor in the government. Do you think it's going to be boring, plain sailing, a return to the old-fashioned conservative politics of the pre-Johnson era?
Saturday nights on ITV used to be so good, didn't they? We had Blind Dates and Gladiators, and then you had X Factor. Now they're putting Big Brother on it. It's getting a little bit desperate, if you ask me. Other channels have tried Big Brother. It's not worked now. They're putting us on ITV and ITV2 at the same time. So in many ways, the government is the Saturday night television of now. It's desperate. That's culture.
And Nadine, will you go on Big Brother if they ask you?
Yes.
Great, wonderful. Yeah.
What? How much? How much do they pay?
That
I probably will.
I think it varies.
You run this?
I think. Yeah, it varies on the person.
We don't.
Are you from
we don't run it, Nadine. We can't. No, we don't have any say in who goes on.
Are you representatives from Cocodamol? Name your price.
No, that's.
Some of them might listen to the show, but we don't. We don't
tell them I'll do
have
it.
a say in it.
Tell them I'll do it. I'll do it. Tell them I'll do it.
Oh,
great. Now, Nadine, I know you're a very busy woman, so we will actually. Are you a busy woman?
Yes, I am. Oh God, I've just had my publisher get in touch about the plots, my upcoming brilliant book, and they've said, can I look at the 1st, 2nd, 5th and 8th chapter again? I said, no, I already wrote them.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's good to hear that you're still working hard. But what I want to end in is that your letter, it really sort of ends in quite a poignant way, where you talk about being a proud working class conservative.
Yeah.
And you accuse the government and you accuse Rishi of having abandoned the fundamental principles of conservatism. And you say, history will not judge you kindly.
Exactly.
Now, that's strong words.
That's right. Well, I was Secretary of State for History and media, digitals and all of those. So I know a little bit about history, and I'll tell you something. If you're not winning elections, then everything you're doing must be bad. And when they lose the next one, it will be because of history and what I said.
But well, Nadine, final question.
Yes.
Now that you've finally resigned, does this mean you no longer have to declare your earnings, how much they were for Talk TV?
Oh, if you could see me now, you'd see balloons fall from the ceiling, streamers coming down, and I'd probably blow an air horn. Yeah, exactly, I don't. Party time. No decorations ever again for me, Nadine. Good, isn't it?
Wonderful.
It's silly anyway, because I wasn't
going
to make my decorations anyway.
Nadine, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming on the show and talking us through your bombshell of a letter.
Thank you. From one bombshell to another, that's me and my bombshell.
Oh, I thought I was the other bombshell, but that's fine.
I could be a bombshell as well. I think
I
can sometimes have... No? Right. Okay.
No.
Good.
I've never met you before today. Why would I know if you're a bombshell or not?
We have...
Who is he?
But it doesn't matter. I suppose.
Bye.
Right, Producer Martin. So Seb Payne, the think tanker, conservative candidate and occasional journalist, with his think tank Onward, had the brilliant idea of getting children to do 2 weeks of national service and 6 months of social action and then a further year of optional service. Eshaan's not here, so unfortunately we have to get your take on this.
Yes.
Yes, your mild and creamy takeaway.
Well, you should be careful, first of all, I'd say, because sometimes you think it's going to be mild and creamy and then it can be a little too spicy. You know, there's a lot of kick in a korma.
Right.
From time to time. So just gird your opinion loins.
Oh, God.
And get ready for some pretty fuego hot takes.
No, I don't like this.
No, it's just me, and I've got my thoughts, and I'll let you have them. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's belt up and.
Right, I'm ready. Yes, ready for this. These opinions.
Yes. So my hot take is this. So here it comes. Getting 16-year-olds to do national service, is that a good idea?
Yes.
No. I mean, where my spice comes from.
Yes, it is
the idea that perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. Have we?
Why?
Asked them. Well, I was 16 once, as were you, Harriet.
Yes, 16-year-olds don't know what they want. They don't know what they want, Producer Martin. So why not get them doing some good national service, some good clean work? That's what I say. Get them working.
Yes. I mean, the suggestion seems to be that they are, in Seb's words, unhappy, unskilled, and unmoored. But I'd say that this is probably not the best way to make them happier. And
why? Because now they'll be skilled and moored.
Well,
I mean, that's like a working boat, isn't it? That's like a boat that sits there and does things, and that's what we want for our children, Martin. We want them to sit there, anchored to the ground and doing things.
I feel like that's more like what we want from our sailors. I mean, we are, of course, famously.
Well, we could get children to do that, couldn't we? We could get them to do a year of sailing.
What, put them in the Navy?
Yes, sailing and bombing.
Bombing?
Yes, well, I'm just thinking of the national service thing, which I do like. I just think we get those children out there sailing and bombing.
What do you mean the sort of thing that's banned in the swimming pools? You know, no bombing.
No, I mean bombing the bad people, Martin.
Oh, right, actual bombs.
Yes,
right.
Actual bombing, yes.
Well, I tend to say that perhaps we shouldn't push certainly children into military action. I mean, there isn't really the great care, the aftercare for people coming out of our
No, Martin, can I just say, do you know what they say, Martin? A child soldier is a happy soldier.
Wow, that I'm not sure anyone says that.
That's what they say. That's what they say, Martin.
I mean, I certainly haven't heard it. I'm sure someone has said it before. I mean, it's what you say, certainly.
Well, look, Martin, 57% of Britons support this idea and 46% of 18 to 25-year-olds.
Right. And
yes.
and who's going to be doing the national service?
16-year-olds.
16-year-olds, right.
Yes.
Okay, so they haven't been asked.
They don't know, do they? They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they're just children.
Wandering around. They're just children. I just see them wandering around the street, looking gormless, checking their phones. You've got to tell them what to do. Got to knock them in shape.
I mean, one way that I could see this as being a potentially helpful thing is if we've got a lot of 16-year-olds doing national service, helping our country, going out of their way to volunteer their time, then perhaps we could then look at lowering the voting age. Because as soon as you're giving back to your country, surely...
No, Martin. No.
Not
Otherwise, no. You know what would happen? We'd get a sort of voting communism if you let these people vote. And they're all silly little lefties, aren't they, these kids today? They're all silly little lefties. They're dressing
Right.
up as cats. We can't have cat people voting.
Do you
Absolutely
think
ridiculous idea.
the idea of a national service does have a degree of a socialist bent in it? The idea of giving up your own time for the greater good.
Yes, that's good. I like that. The greater good.
Well, yes. I mean, that's it. Well, everyone's sort of, communing together to.
Yes.
So you're positive about these things? Are you feeling good about them?
Yes, definitely. Very positive. Good for them.
Right. Well,
And let's look at our veterans. They're all happy people, aren't they? They're with their little poppy tins. They're all happy.
I hate to break it to you, Harriet, but there is actually a rather high homeless population that are ex-service.
Oh, no. Codswallop.
I don't think it is Codswallop. I'm not really entirely sure now I think of it what Codswallop is.
Well, it's what it is. Codswallop
Right.
is as Codswallop does. No, look, Martin, I appreciate your mild and creamy takeaway, but I think in this instance, and actually when I come to think about it, in most instances, it is wrong. I mean, your mild and creamy takeaway really is quite ill-defined, isn't it, really, as a takeaway in general? But I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing for the country. I think this is a good thing for the children. And well done, Seb, I say. Well done. Keep up the good work, Seb, and maybe you'll get into government one day.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that, but I hope you enjoyed my mild and creamy. We can't call it mild and creamy.
No, it's brilliant. Stick with it. Stick with it, Martin. No.
Opinion sandwich.
No.
Producer Martin.
No, close it. Close the section, Martin,
chicken.
with your mild and creamy takeaway.
Okay. And that was my former conversation. No, it's
come on.
It's been. I hope you've enjoyed my mild and creamy.
There we go, Martin. Didn't that feel good?
I feel sort of dirty, actually.
And finally, we were joined by our Royal Correspondent Nicola Witchell, who was on the show to talk about the Andrew problem.
You might be imagining what Harriet means by the Andrew problem, and I can assure you now, she means something else.
I most certainly do, Martin. Let's take a listen. Nicola, as always, it's an honour.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Harriet. Thank you. It's been a while since I was here. The last time I was here was obviously for the glorious coronation. And it's a wonderful day to return with the most important pressing issue of the 21st century happening right now.
Well, I mean, what we're here to talk about, of course, is the rehabilitation of a certain Prince Andrew.
Yes, Prince Andrew, Prince Eric, Prince Caspian, all wonderful men who all deserved rehabilitation into the world. And it is time, finally, for the public to wake up and see that Prince Andrew needs to be welcomed back into the fray.
I mean, it's not like he married an American. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's get things into perspective.
Going to live in Toronto for a little while and then going to America and trying to keep where you lived secret so that you don't get bothered by the British press. Well. Seems that you think you're above all that. Well, I tell you who's above nothing. Prince Andrew.
He is above nothing. I couldn't agree more.
I've got to say, Nicola, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm fully convinced that people do feel warmly towards him. I think there is still a little sour taste in the mouth for a lot of people when they think about the things that he was accused of. I mean, do you really think that he's spent enough time away in order to make his triumphant return?
The Queen, Her Majesty Elizabeth Regina II of Great Britain, paid £12 million to make that go away. And that £12 million was our money, and I was glad to give it. So I think you'll find that, yes, he's been away for far too long, if anything.
Right, okay.
Well,
I mean,
that you can't argue with that.
Time to come
Now,
back.
Nicola, you, of course, you know the family very well.
Yes.
You've known some of those boys since they were little. I mean, you've really seen the family grow. And the word in the papers, Nicola, is that there is a clash between Prince William and King Charles. King Charles wants to bring his brother back into the fold, but Prince William is not so keen. Now, what is your take on this? And knowing the family as you do, what do you think is going on here?
It's true I have known the family a long time. I've known William since he looked like Diana. And I think at this point, the ultimate disservice he is doing to Diana is, of course, not allowing her favourite of the royals, Prince Andrew, back into the fray. And it's something he should think about. Diana loved Prince Andrew the most in many ways. Certainly loved him more than Harry.
Did she? That's quite an exclusive. I didn't know that.
Yes, she always used to say, he was my favourite.
Now, for any listeners who aren't aware, Nicola does know a thing or two about Diana, as the Spirit of Diana does occasionally like to speak.
Yes, she does live within me. If you'd like me to speak to her right now, I could find out exactly how she feels about Prince.
I'm not sure that ended too well
actually,
last time. We got a lot of complaints.
Well, I'm back, aren't I? So you can't have had that many.
And Producer Martin, I think it is important that, you know, not many people have such access to Princess Diana. And I myself, I really want to know what Princess Diana makes of what's going on here and what her views are on Prince Andrew. And I think that it would be amiss, as my position as a hard-hitting journalist, not to ask Diana what she thinks.
I'll ask her.
I mean,
I'll do it. Here.
Nicola, are you going to ask her, or do I need to ask her through you? How does this work?
Well, I'll speak to her briefly first, and then you can ask her. Diana, I don't want this getting out of hand.
Thank you very much.
Please control yourself. This isn't the 80s. Now, come on. Right. You can ask now.
I'd like to ask Diana whether she thinks Prince Andrew should be rehabilitated, and what her thoughts on Prince Andrew are.
Go ahead, Princess of Hearts. Yes, I always loved Andrew. He was always my absolute favourite royal, and it's been heartbreaking him watching from up here as he is cast aside as if he were no better than Harry. Oh, well, there you have it. There you have it. From the least favourite to her most favourite, and welcome back. I loved seeing
That's interesting. So her former brother-in-law is more important to her than her son.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if... Okay. I mean, it's a very
Producer Martin, you keep in...
vocal impression, but I'm not sure we can put too much weight on these particular claims.
Producer Martin, I feel like whenever we're about to get a really big scoop, you ruin it.
I just feel
This is a scoop.
It is a kind of scoop.
How many other people get Princess Diana on their show?
Well, very few people would invite her.
Yes,
I think,
very
at
few.
this point.
I bet you've got a copy or two of Spare on your shelves.
Listen, I haven't got more than one copy. I think Sir Keir might have left his copy round when he came around to visit recently. It was part of our
He uses
book
his
club,
copy as a yoga
I mean,
block.
Well, you know,
That's
yoga blocks are pretty
probably
expensive,
true.
and it is a relatively thick book. But, I mean, this is besides the point. I mean, Nicola, you, of course, have been so close to the royal family.
Yes.
Perhaps you could tell us what the next step for Andrew will be, if indeed this kind of rehabilitation does work. Could you see him taking on more duties, returning to public life anytime soon?
I think it is imminent that he shall be back. And the new way he will be known is as the Loyal Royal.
Oh, lovely. The Loyal Royal.
Right. And what is his loyalty to? Why is he so? Why is he being seen as so loyal?
Well, he's loyal to the press, isn't he? The most important people to impress are the press. He'll be loyal to them, the Loyal Royal. Expect to see lots of footage of him crying at the end of moving West End shows, perhaps being nice to a dog, and also, of course, working solely with old people, which is our esteemed hope. That is what will happen.
And also, can I just say that we haven't seen Prince Andrew moaning about privacy and moaning about the press and moaning
He'd
about
like
racism.
a lot less privacy.
I have never seen Prince Andrew moan about racism.
No, he hasn't. In fact, Prince Andrew has never said a word about racism. Therefore, can we honestly say it exists?
Exactly, Nicola. That's the thing. And we're talking about the rehabilitation of one royal, but obviously Prince Harry, what he's done is a lot worse than Prince Andrew. So it's a bigger ask to expect that he might be let back into the fold. But do you see that ever happening?
Harry? Oh, he'd love to get his hands back on that family, wouldn't he? The disloyal royal.
Yes, he would.
As I call him,
Yes.
Harry and Meghan the Sussex. They will never be allowed back in, even though they are desperate to take on the mantle of royal again. And I'll tell you something. They can go on happily living their lives as much as they like, but Diana can't stand it. Can you, Diana? I wish they would just stop living their lives happily and be good and loyal. Exactly, Diana. Thank you for behaving yourself this time.
Can't believe that that's Diana's opinion, Nicola. I mean, really, surely she loved her children and wanted them to have a happy and free life, free from the the intrusion of the press and the control of the royal family. Could we get...
Right. Diana, would you like to give your POV? That stands for Point of View, starring Anne Robinson. Yes, I want my children to live the happiest and freest lives they can, but only as part of the royal family. Oh, well, there you are. As soon as they're out of the royal family, she says it's very bad.
Well, it seems quite at odds with the way that she lived her life, which, was like a candle in the wind.
You're just believing all that media chat, man.
That's true. I mean, listen, there is
Martin,
a narrative going ahead.
Yeah, who are you going to believe, the media or Princess Diana herself?
Exactly, and it's the spirit of.
I mean,
so
that's
it's her in her purest form.
It's spirit of Princess Diana. Yeah.
Yes, the purest form of Diana. Why would a spirit tell a lie?
Nicola Witchell, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to get your viewpoint. And let's keep our fingers crossed for Prince Andrew.
We all will. And goodbye. Shut up, Diana. We've heard enough from you. I think I'm going to have a tough afternoon with her now she's been allowed out in the limelight again. Diana, will you ever set me free?
Oh, well, goodbye, Diana, and have a lovely afternoon with Nicola.
Goodbye. Countdown's on.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this week. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, buy tickets to the live show on the 7th of September at kingsplace.co.uk and follow the Out of Context Non-Censored Twitter account and keep those questions coming to noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com. With thanks to Rosie Holt, Brendan Murphy, Suze Kempner and Ed Morrish. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon and we'll be back next week with more Non-Censored.